Max, answer me.
The right ventricle's collapsed. She's gone.
X5599, I've got a heart for you.
We'd already committed to the idea that Max was going to be captured at the end of the season, and it suddenly dawned on us, well, why not have her escape, but break everybody out? And we were going to, along the way, meet these specially purposed, genetically engineered soldiers, built to fight in the desert or underwater or whatever that might be. They were going to be out in the world, and the repercussions of that were going to be the thrust of the second season.
The idea was essentially that, in fact, there were earlier generations, earlier attempts to genetically engineer superior human beings using animal DNA, and that this had resulted in some strange animal-human hybrids, and that this was a kind of a dark part of Manticore's history that they had kind of kept secret.
And starting season 2, we knew we were going to get a lot more drastic with our characters. Season 1, the only difference between most of our transgenics was the barcode. Now, season 2, we knew there was going to be a lot more of the anomalies, which were down in the basement of Manticore.
It was a whole new direction for the show, which made it, especially directing the season opener, that much more challenging, because we were introducing different arcs for that season that were going to take the show off in completely different directions.
I think it definitely has more sci-fi, more action. I think it's definitely reality-based science fiction, and we're just exploring that more this season.
But I think this year the show has definitely pushed outside of its boundaries last year. We have sort of a bigger sense of the world that Max lives in.
Well, with season 2, because of the new direction they were heading, they brought in new characters. Kevin Durand plays Joshua.
My character's name is Joshua, and he's a little bit hairy. He was basically the first genetic experiment from Manticore, and they went a little too far on the canine. As soon as he meets Max, right away he starts picking up her lingo and is overwhelmed by this beautiful girl's kindness.
Max realizes that he's just a human being with a soft heart, and it's not his fault that he looks the way he does.
In the episode The Medium is the Message, Joshua discovers he can paint. We had him dancing and howling. And Kevin Durand, it's very funny to see this guy in this prosthetic with this hair dancing. The guy is a trained singer-dancer. He's actually done Broadway musicals.
Kevin Durand is unbelievable. He's so funny. I had never seen him without his prosthetics, because he was in the chair 4 hours before me and 4 hours after me. So I was done. I was out of there. And I never saw him. And he walked up to me on set one day and was like, "Hey, Ash, how you doing?" Had no idea who he was. No clue at all. In fact, Jensen ran into him in Los Angeles at a bar, and he walked up, he's like, "Hey, Jensen, how you doing?" Jensen had no idea. He's like, "Oh my God, who's this big guy? Did I do something wrong? Who's your girlfriend? Oh no,"
Jensen Ackles joined us, and he played the character of Alec.
He was kind of her woody, stupid, crazy, smart alecky, chip on his shoulder sidekick.
When we started talking about creating a character like Alec, an X5 like Max, who could walk the streets because he looks perfectly normal, someone who was a rogue and sexy, a potential love interest, a potential rival to Logan, we all just, were thinking about Jensen, who played a very, very different character, a much darker character in the first season, but we knew he could play this too, and we decided let's just deal with that confusion later on, and heck, why not? Why can't he be a genetic twin?
He had no problem robbing from people or pulling whatever scam he was doing.
He was a hustler, He had his hand in everybody's pockets, He was always making deals, he was on the move.
Hey, check it out, Grandma's got herself a plasma screen TV.
We're not going to come back here and steal her TV.
Why not?
He was always sort of foiling Max, who, at the very heart of it, she was looking to do things noble and that were good, and he was really out for number one.
I got to do a lot of physical acting and a lot of stunts, and I actually probably did 90% of it myself. I tried to. Stunt double hated me because you get to, had to get makeup, hair, wardrobe, and just sit on the sideline and watch me do it all. So that was really fun for me. I liked trying to do as much as I could.
Ames White joined season 2.
I'm there to decimate the entire, transgenic blight, that is, literally to wipe them from the face of the earth. The transgenic shows up with Ames White, he's like a red shirt on Star Trek, right? He's a dead man, it's over.
What you began to learn about White as the season went on was that, in fact, he was a much more complicated character, that he had I guess you might call it a religious or spiritual background that made his feelings for the transgenics, his distaste for them, very, very personal.
Martin's great. He's one of those actors who you don't see it coming. All of a sudden the camera gets going and it starts rolling and he just switches into this total character. You don't even see it coming.
He's a really serious character. His character in the show is very dark and edgy and brooding, and he'd finish a take and he'd go, "How was that? Was that okay?"
I had a really good time working with Martin. I wish I got to work with him more, but storylines.
He comes prepared, ready to go, and I thought he really brought a lot to the table.
What is it you're meant to be, besides ugly? I'm talking to you.
British Eddie and his gang were known as Steelheads, and he was this kind of John Lydon, Sex Pistols, snotty punk criminal.
They were like humans that were trying to engineer themselves to be greater than what they were.
We ended up having this incredible comedic rapport. Just when we, getting makeup on and joking around, waiting for scenes to happen.
You twits!
Dark Angels was not a comedy. Certainly these episodes were full of comedy whenever we were on screen. So I was really grateful to be a part of that.
Ashley Scott joined season 2 as Asha, who was another freedom fighter. She's there to work hand in hand with Eyes Only.
When I first got on the show, I'm like, oh my gosh, this girl's gonna hate me. And this, new girl that just walks on the show, that is being written in as her fiance in real life's love interest. Oh, great, Here we go.
Logan and Max.
Max and Logan.
Every happiness.
Asha was meant to rev people up, and she was meant to make people angry, and she was, meant to make Max mad. And
it created some complications and some misperceptions during the course of the season that kept Max and Logan's relationship in conflict.
I think at the end of the day, Max and Logan were soulmates. They were meant to be.
Although it may be satisfying on some level to see them together, what's always interesting is how can you keep them apart?
What the hell are you talking about?
A genetically targeted retrovirus. You're the carrier. Any intimate contact between you activates the agent. Now, you didn't kiss him or anything, did you?
So Max is targeted with this deadly virus that will only kill Logan if they touch.
The virus is targeted specifically for Logan's DNA, and I carry the virus. So if we come into any physical contact, he gets this virus and he dies within 24 hours.
The fascinating thing with Dark Angel is because it was in the future of this post-apocalyptic world. When it came to lighting, there were really no rules because we were living in a world where everybody was piecing together whatever they could salvage to make life work for them. It just gave me all kinds of freedom. Season 2 allowed me to get a little darker in that some of the new transgenic characters were very dark. So that allowed me to take it even further into a darkness that you seldom get away with in television.
I sat down with Dave while I was in prep on my first show, and I said, listen, I see what you're doing on this show. I see how you're trying to make it dark and, gutsy and moody, and I really like that a lot. And I want to add a couple of things to that. And Dave responded really positively to the things that I wanted to do, and so he and I became fast friends. Over one lunch, we just decided that this, we were going to have fun working together, and we were going to do some great stuff.
With the advent of these more disfigured characters, a lot of our environments were going to have to be more clandestine. To see Joshua on the street would frighten anybody, and it would call attention to this, these creatures walking among us. The city of Vancouver did not really allow us to go into a nice neighborhood and completely trash it. So to remedy that, we decided to go ahead and build our own back lot, the back lot of Terminal City. And that was a huge undertaking, but it proved to be a really worthwhile endeavor because we got to create our own environment, which we had complete control over. We got to have the color, the texture, and the scope that we wanted to.
Terminal City was Jerry Wanick's baby. He did just an amazing job of building this.
It was truly amazing. You really felt like you were in another world.
I never showed up at a Jerry Wanick set and had not enough to shoot. In fact, I showed up at a lot of his sets and went, Jerry, there's too much here. I don't know how I'm going to shoot all this. Thanks, I'll try.
Well, after working for 2 years on a show that's written and produced by James Cameron, it was really exciting to have him finally come up and do an episode.
Background and action.
You know, throughout the first 2 years, there was all these rumors, hey, Cameron's coming up and he's going to do one, and finally it happened.
Our director for the season finale fell out, and so we were kind of left with a hole in our directing slot, and I had sort of wanted to find a place to direct an episode somewhere along the way, and that seemed like a natural, because you want to go out at the end of the season with a bang. We had a pretty good story planned, and so I said, okay, sign me up, I'll do it, I'll be a good producer, and I'll take care of my show. I'll jump into the breach and take care of business.
That means you can't be locked to him. All right, so
he's phenomenal. He's hands-on with everything.
He was really eager to, grab the camera himself and put it on his shoulder and get in there and do it.
When it says Jim Cameron directs, that doesn't mean he's like via satellite from Los Angeles sitting in his armchair like, go back to the medium 2 shot. He's spray painting the flag and he's telling the extra where to have their eye line and how to hold their gun, and he's a very hands-on, meticulous perfectionist director.
I get wounded in this episode, and he actually came up, grabbed the blood, and did it himself. He's like, come on, what is this? This is Saturday morning blood? Let's get some in there, and he starts throwing it on there.
I'm trying to think now. He did say there was something that he wasn't very good at. Pushing the dolly. I think that was the one element of filmmaking that he hadn't gotten down yet.
Pretty quickly, you realize that Jim was not slowing down for anybody. He was driven to get to the end and do things the way he wanted to do them, and it really wasn't a time to be faltering much. It was a time to try and get in his wake and just keep on.
This was about getting it done, just gun and run, guerrilla style, take no prisoners, very few takes, lots of setups a day. We were boarded for 5-6 pages a day, which is nuts. I would normally shoot half that on a feature. The crew were ready to go. I mean, even though they'd come off 9 months of really hard shooting, they were ready to charge. They wanted to show me their very best, and we did 116 setups in one day, which is gonzo. It's like that's out of control. So we were having fun. The network wanted to do something special, the studio wanted to do something special, so this character Thula seemed to be a good opportunity. So I said, well, let's look at some of the WWF stars, some of the female stars, because let's pit Max against an Amazon warrior that maybe she can't beat.
The entire episode and all my scenes that I'm doing are leading up to a fight with Jessica.
It's the most challenging fight Max has ever had, because this woman is 5,000 years of pure breeding to get the best of the human race versus Max being made in a lab. So this is definitely like her match.
Just bring it.
Cameron did a wonderful job. I mean, he really tied in all the loose pieces and really summed up season 2 nicely, and it really set the tone for where they were going to go.
It was actually announced in the trades that Dark Angel had been picked up for a 3rd season. That was Wednesday of the announcement week. On Thursday, when Fox actually announced, live in New York, they announced that Dark Angel had not been picked up.
They have their reasons. It was a big disappointment for everybody.
And I was sorry that it didn't come back for a 3rd season. I think there were some good ideas and a good plan for what the 3rd season would have been.
The ending of the series was appropriate in the fact that James Cameron got to put his stamp on it. I do think there was a lot left to be told from this, from the story he created. Both James Cameron and Chick Egley created very memorable characters. You really cared about these characters. You wanted to see them succeed. You wanted to see them be accepted.
I think there was a feeling in that image of the flag being raised. It was a very hopeful and sort of inclusive, and that image was pretty searing and comes close to summing it all up and taking the sting out of the fact that we didn't get to continue.
I loved working on Dark Angel. I really liked all those people on that show. I liked the cast on that show. It was actually one of the best television experiences I ever had. Working
on Dark Angel was a real joy because the cast, the crew, it was like working with your best friends. It was like having a second family.
It was a great experience. I'm glad I got to be involved in it.
Now look what you've done.